Well, I already stole Bad Unboxing from iDubbbz, so I might as well go in and swoop up another series, that being Kickstarter Crap, in the form of GoFundMe Garbage, Reptile Edition, because every week I'm constantly sent GoFundMes by people that are trying to raise money for various things, and raising money is great. Charity's pretty epic. You heard it here first. Charity is good, but the problem is there's a lot of bad charity, and we're gonna go over what I think some of these bad charity bits are. I have 20 GoFundMes just dedicated to various reptile projects, and I'm gonna talk about why some of them are good, some of them are bad, and some of them are even worse, and I'm gonna give you my feedback, or these people my feedback, even though they didn't ask for it. None of these that I'm looking at were sent to me. I wasn't spammed by any of them, and I have no hatred towards any of them, so please don't just go be disrespectful. I will leave the names of the GoFundMes up if you do decide you want to support them, because maybe some you actually support and think are good, and maybe you agree or disagree with me. So we can begin. The first one is called My Mini Zoo, and basically this person has reptiles, and they like reptiles, and they're young, and they now have space for another reptile. So they're asking for $200 from strangers. And the reason don't feel bad on being kind of mean to some of these people is because money is likely your most valuable asset. It kind of makes the world go round, whether you like it or not, and I think it's important that you protect your most valuable asset. The same way, if I review a product and I really dislike it, I'm going to make it clear that I don't think that this is a valuable investment, because you need to really protect what you earn. And I do think that donating is a great way to put some extra money if you can, but one like this I don't think is the right place to put it. It sounds like this is somebody that can afford their current reptiles, that don't necessarily have problems paying for that, and it doesn't really specify too much, and you just got to go off what's in the description, and they simply are ready for another personal pet for their own hobby, and they want me to pay for it. Again, when I say me, I mean like all of us, because this was not sent to me. You get the idea, but it gets weirder and more annoying to me. For example, custom reptile terrariums. GoFundMe is for raising money for events, charities, nonprofits, emergencies, stuff like that. Kickstarter and other places like that are more for business-based stuff, where you're almost like a little investor into it, and then you get something in return. Not necessarily stake in the company, like a Shark Tank shark or something, but you get something in return. But so many people send me their business startups, which is a real thing, it's a valid thing. Tons of people have business startups, but they're just asking for money just because they need it. For example, this person is starting up a business of reptile breeding and building custom enclosures. They need money for the supplies to build the enclosures to sell them. But what I do respect is you want to start selling custom built terrariums, which is a pretty niche market, but also not something with a lot of people, but they just want my money to sell stuff and make more money. And the enclosure in the picture is literally cracked, which I just think is kind of funny. So what I think this person needs to do is they need to start marketing and basically take a deposit and say, it's going to take a little bit for me to build this. You give me the deposit and I will buy the supplies and then use the supplies to build your enclosure. And then you can either pay in full or you can pay in full up front. You shouldn't just ask for other people for money for the supplies and then sell the supplies built as an enclosure to other people, because that doesn't make any sense, and it's not a business. It's just kind of using other people's money to make money, which is fine. Venture capitalism is a thing, and raising money is a thing, but someone donating doesn't get anything out of this, and it doesn't make sense. So I think this should have been a Kickstarter, or they raise money, or whatever else. Some are more sad and more based around a specific animal, like Give Ivy a Second Chance, who's a 7-year-old Herman's tortoise, who they unexpectedly started caring for. There's going to be two patterns you're going to see in a lot of these. One is metabolic bone disease. This is basically where an animal's skeleton does not develop properly because it didn't get the right nutrients as it was growing. So because of this deficiency, their bones and limbs will be shorter and they look weird. You probably all know what metabolic bone disease is if you watch my videos. Stan has it. We've gotten probably 100 plus animals with metabolic bone disease. But and then the other pattern is vets and really dumb spending money spending at vets, which you'll understand shortly. I don't actually remember if it's valid for this one, but metabolic bone disease is not something you can fix, and a lot of people go to the vet to get metabolic bone disease tests, but it's not a test. You can just look at the animal and see if it has metabolic bone disease. Now, you can't always tell. Maybe it's actually a muscle problem, or something more between the joints, or stuff that isn't metabolic bone disease, but for the most part you can tell. And so her shell has suffered, she has trouble chewing because of the lack of calcium. We're unable to find rescue space that can take over the care, and we're unable to get a $500 series of tests, or 500-pound series of tests done to confirm Ivy's medical issues. They didn't specify what issues she has other than metabolic bone disease. So what this tells me, oh wait, it says right here actually, our aim, $500, 500-pound, needs to start the tests. We don't want to give up and have her PTS put to sleep. Okay, that makes more sense than PTS. We don't want to have her put to sleep. The extra 100 is to get her heating equipment. What I understand, and this is kind of an old one that's a year old, is getting tested for metabolic bone disease and then told whether she should be put to sleep. But that's not related. You don't need to spend 500 pounds to know if an animal has metabolic bone disease, and then if it does, that's not what gives the verdict of whether she should be euthanized or not. So this one just doesn't make sense. And I'm not blaming the people, because a lot of times vets are extremely misleading. I've experienced it myself. People know I don't like a lot of veterinarians. I just feel it's just a waste of money, basically, if metabolic bone disease is what she's being tested for. Also, what I kind of don't like is they never gave an update, because 3 people donated their hard-earned cash and never got an update from over a year ago. The next one, reptile care, new enclosures, and checks, presumably vet checks. The first word, or the first sentence is, I am a crazy reptile lady who cannot say no to an adoption or rescue case. And that is something I see every week, and it hurts me inside, because if you can't say no to an animal, it's most likely just gonna end up in the same or worse scenario from where it's being rescued from. Not always. There's different cases, but people go overboard, people go over their max, and I've done it myself. And now I've learned what my maximum is, and it changes based on circumstances and budget and space, but I have gone over the max, and it is not fun, because 25 hours a day of your time goes into those animals, and you can't even necessarily get everything that you should be doing. So it's very important to be able to say no to an animal, because oftentimes, or at least say just hold on, like just leave them in that condition until you can get the others going or gone. And in the end, it is completely worth it for the animal, and not being able to say no is pretty selfish. So I'm not saying that this person is selfish, but I didn't really read the rest of this because I don't really care. Moving on. Here's another one. This person, there's a picture, they're clearly pretty young. Please help me improve my pets' habitats and needs. I'm fundraising to help my pets and reptiles get better homes, and help my cousins out with their snakes, wrong from over there, and turtles and dogs. All I ask is $200. Most likely 200 won't cover all of that, but even if it did, it's just too broad. It doesn't say anything really, like why do their homes need to be better. You need details if you need money. This person raised $0, and it's to me, it sounds like they just want to get their animals new enclosures, and they don't want to earn the money themselves, and instead just raise it. Reptile rebuild, this one's similar. I need funds due to the illness. I haven't been able to, because they're used for safety purposes and not for the reptile room rebuilding. They want $1,200. They haven't raised any. There's just no details. So how are we? You're not going to raise money doing this. Veterinary care for Charmader. Charmader. No, it's Charmader. They just spelled it wrong. He has a swollen limbs. Wait, when his limbs started swelling in October. So this is also a year old, so there's no updates. And the picture, it looks like only his back left leg is swollen. The others look normal. When only one limb is swelling, it's usually most likely an infection. Obviously, can't do a vet check over the internet. If all of his limbs were swelling, I don't know what that would be, but they have already spent over $1,500 trying to figure this out, and they need another $1,000. And the vet really adds up, because they love to rack on those bills. Vets are businesses too. They need to cover their expenses. It gets expensive. They have ridiculously expensive x-ray gear. They need to get paid. Usually vet techs don't get paid enough. So I'm completely aware that it's ridiculously expensive, but oftentimes they just do the most unnecessary work based on my experiences and what people have told me. So also this person's dad got laid off, and they can't borrow any money. So this is their last resort. And this is just a really sad case where I don't think it's at all the fault of the fundraiser, and I support raising money for this kind of thing. But again, there are no updates, so I don't like to donate to ones that are old that they haven't updated on, because they already got 300 and none of these people know what happened. Also, it's under accidents and emergencies, but it should be under pets and animals, which it's no biggie. But then there's this one who raised over $400. They said Leopard Gecko Dream. Oh, I forgot about this one. Oh god. Okay. I'm a graduate student and youth advocate in my community. See, you gotta hype up like what you do. You gotta look really good, which is part of marketing, basically. I'm looking to purchase a leopard gecko. Every time I go to Petco or PetSmart, I walk past the tanks in disbelief of the poor conditions they are in. If I understand correctly, and I know I am on this one, they raised over $400 to give to Petco and PetSmart to abuse more animals. When you rescue an animal from Petco, not to be harsh, but you did nothing. Sure, this one animal might end up in better conditions, but what I like to tell people is every one animal you buy from Petco, 2 more are abused, because they keep track of what sells and they keep track of what doesn't sell. If something doesn't sell, it goes off the shelf because it's wasting space. If it does sell, they get more of it because that's making them the most revenue. You buy a leopard gecko, they market, oh, another leopard gecko sold. Those are doing well. Let's get more leopard geckos. And even if your local pet store or pet store does a good job, they are almost all sourced from massive distributors that are not so great. And the reptiles are basically pennies. They pay less than $5 per animal, and they are bulk bred because they are so easy to breed. Tons of them die in the facilities, tons of them die on the way because they're not necessarily packaged well, and tons of them die from various illnesses. So this person just gave $400. In my eyes, 19 people just donated to animal abuse. That's my opinion. You can have yours, but that's mine. Next up, another leopard gecko with metabolic bone disease. Serious issue, obviously, but you can't fix it. They can't recover from it. They need $500 for vet bills and the enclosure. Sometimes what people will do, although they said Dubai roaches, everyone says Dubai roaches, it's Dubai roaches. Sometimes what people do is they'll have the money for an animal, they get it, and they set it up, but they were really stretching their budget. Maybe they went into their emergency fund, maybe they put on a credit card, so they then raise money to replenish that. But other people don't have the money up front. They get the animal and then they ask for the money, and they can't set it up until they get the money. This one, I can't specify which, but I just wanted to bring that up. Also, he's not that underweight, honestly. He's a little underweight, but they're saying he's starved. He just looks slightly underweight. So pretty bad case of metabolic bone disease, not the worst. Oh yeah, actually there's more information. He was on Facebook for free, belonging to a 12-year-old boy. So they just got him for free, but I don't know if they actually have the money or not. So yeah, you get the idea. Okay, this is one that I think makes more sense, and it's a tortoise with a penile prolapse, which are oddly, I hear about a lot. This is the kind of thing where it's truly an emergency, you gotta bring it in ASAP. Prolapses are generally not something that you can DIY fix at home. There are different remedies that you can do, like with cloacal prolapses with snakes. You can do like a sugar water mix, and sometimes that works. But generally, a bad prolapse is going to need some incisions to get it back in and then sew it up. So it makes sense with this kind of thing. You know exactly what it's going to cost. The anesthesia, everything. This makes sense. And he's actually all better. Like, there's an update from... So I think this is a good GoFundMe. I support this. Well, I didn't donate because he's already fine now. I think this is a better GoFundMe. It was an emergency. Ideally, you will have money for emergencies with your animals, but you can't prepare for everything. Other emergencies come up where you might just use up your emergency fund, and that's completely understandable, but they were on top of things. They were thorough. They gave updates. They had a very specific goal, and I like this kind of GoFundMe. So that's the kind of one that I try to keep an eye out for, and then ignore stuff like this one where it says the reason for this GoFundMe is for my wife that loves animals, but especially reptiles. She's one of those people that just can't say no to a reptile in need of care. You have to be able to care for the animal. So it's either A, they literally can't say no and they're bringing it into poor conditions, or B, they're being kind of dishonest because they actually do have the right conditions and saying no isn't a problem, or saying yes isn't a problem. But this person said, Because of this, I find myself spending a lot of money on cages, food, lights, heaters, etc., vet bills, etc. It's like a sugar daddy situation, kind of, but the sugar daddy ran out of money for saving the animals. We just don't have the funds, and they raised $6 from unknown. Again, nothing personal against this person, but there's so many of these, and they just don't make any logical sense. You need money to do things. Like, I'm still in the very early stages, I would consider, of working on Emerald Scales. We're entering basically year 3 of the project, and still there is such a ridiculous amount to learn. But it took, I think, 6 to 12 months just to even raise the base money, just working on various projects, selling various items, just doing all these little things to sell little, or to earn little bits of money. And again, it's no problem if you raise money from family members or friends or whatever, but that kind of thing bothers me. So this one is another vet bill for a leopard gecko. Very simply put, the leopard gecko stopped eating and they can't figure out why. They said the nearest exotic vet charges $80 to $110 for just the consultation. You should know the exact amount for a consultation. The point of a consultation is it's a flat rate. Again, that's just a little thing. But sometimes it's little things like that where you can pick up if a GoFundMe is not necessarily honest, but this person is likely honest. So basically it stopped eating. In the picture, it looks perfectly healthy. Leopard geckos do sometimes go off feed, and when they do, it's normally either just something they're doing or the husbandry just needs some tweaking. Again, they didn't specify, so everything could be perfect, and they said that they're willing to do anything to make sure he begins eating again, or she. They want $2,500 for this, and they don't actually know how much it would cost. This one's just kind of unfortunate. I just don't think it's the right kind of thing for GoFundMe, but I completely understand if people donate to this one. I just think the goal is ridiculous. If it was more realistic, if they did more research on what it would actually cost, I think that would be better. Overall, I just think that one kind of gives a slightly bad look to some of the other ones. Sick bearded dragon, need a GoFundMe, $500. Very simple. The thing about bearded dragons is they're the hardest to rehabilitate, in my opinion. Most often they seem to be the one that's put down the most, that have the most random problems, that are susceptible to a lot of illnesses. This one was created over half a year ago with no updates. By now something else would have happened, so yeah. If there are more updates, I think it'll be different. This person is trying to raise 50 grand to start their breeding and rescuing. They're actually in Dunn, which I've picked up a lot of bearded dragons from, so I kind of stole a bit of your business, sorry about that. But don't worry, there's plenty of dying animals to go around. That's the great, horrible thing about it. So the main things that bother me about this is they're raising vet bills for metabolic bone disease and malnourishment, which is slightly different, and generally you don't need vet help for malnourishment if it's not that bad. And I mean, this beardy looks fine. He looks fine enough to not go to a vet. They want $50,000. So I'm guessing they want the $50K for like a down payment on a home or something, but it also sounds like they didn't specify, is this a 501c? Is this a company? What is it? $50K is kind of just ridiculous because anyone could ask for $50K and say they're going to do this. This one I don't have anything against specifically, but it does remind me of a lot of others that I see where they will see an animal listed online, whether it's Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, whatever. They'll want to help the animal, but they raise money before getting it. Most people ghost you on Craigslist. Most people give up, don't respond, give it to someone else, the animal dies, and they raise all this money beforehand, and then they try to get the animal, and then they can't. But this one, they actually did get the animal, but unfortunately the bearded dragon died. Again, beardies are so difficult to do. If I saw this image, if they asked me, should I go try to help this beardie? I do not believe that's one that you can save. So obviously hindsight is 20/20, and now they know that, and me saying that doesn't help at all, but it just gives you the idea that he actually was doing better, but then he suddenly died, which is also just unfortunately common. So they did raise a little bit of money and they were able to try and help, but again, nothing against this one. It reminds me of all these people that try to raise money before getting an animal, and then they go for it, and it just doesn't work, in my opinion. This person wants $3,000 simply to file their 501c nonprofit. I've never started a 501c, so I don't know how much it costs exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if they're right. They claim it's $2,000 to $3,000, but that seems like a lot. For me to start an LLC, which is a limited liability company, it was a $400 filing fee, and that was about it. I think it was basically $400 to start it. Just a couple pages of paperwork, and it was done in a month or two. So there's a lot of benefits to nonprofits. I don't think I'd ever start one. I prefer staying away from nonprofits, which I can talk about why if you're interested. But the main benefit is tax benefits. and overall just saving money and not paying as much in taxes because you're not doing it for profit. And I mean, you still get paid in a nonprofit, you still have a job, you're still hired under your nonprofit. So it's not like you're just doing it for free. But if you have to raise $3K just to start the nonprofit, I think this kind of person needs to start it as a sole proprietorship or as a limited liability company if they are concerned about any lawsuits or anything, or liability in general. Sole proprietorship, free to start. You just do it under your name, whatever name you want, and you're good to go. So I think that they should get going, and then if it really does cost up to $3K for this, turn it into a nonprofit after you get going, because that's just a lot. That $3K could go to a lot more beneficial things before doing this. And honestly, I didn't read this. I'm sure they're legitimate. I just think they would have much better luck and much better experience not starting that way. Aurora's vet bills has this big old bulge. I shouldn't make fun of it. It's clearly painful and it's clearly a big problem. This person says the vet estimated a $2,000 price for all of this, and they currently have 72 cents in their checking account. An abscess like this isn't something that really just happens. You don't just wake up one day and their abscess is this big. I could be wrong. I don't think they usually start that big. I think you normally, it's gradual. Maybe they saw a slight bulge and they were like, oh, it's nothing. It's very small. And then maybe it got worse. But even if you did catch this when it was early, it would still likely be expensive. So again, this is the kind of expensive thing. I think it makes sense for this. They actually did make an update, but they haven't updated since. They said, I know I feel responsible for adopting a pet I had no idea I would not be able to pay for. Well, did it come like that? She recently got this large. No, it came after they got her. So reptile stuff like that with reptiles just happens, and it really sucks. It really ruins the experience and ruins the animal's quality of life oftentimes. So I think something different could have been done if that was caught earlier. Most abscesses, often if they're not under the eye, can just be drained more easily, but if it's under the eye, it's going to be rough. So I don't know why I included that one, but this one is just kind of sad, and I don't know what I think about this one. It was created pretty recently due to family problems. I assume this is a child, or yeah, I guess it is, because looks like their parents are divorced and they can't afford their tortoise. I don't know what the divorce has to do with that, and I'm not trying to get into their personal business. It's their personal information, it's their private life. But when you are trying to raise money for your private doings, like your pets and your family, normally you do have to overshare a little bit based on other GoFundMes. It's a way to almost guilt donations, or at least make them understand and be more likely to donate. The only other thing is they don't specify what the existing health problems are. They say it's because of the previous owner, but people lie all the time. It just doesn't say. The vet bills are expensive. I appreciate any amount. There's no updates. It's just people don't know what they're donating to. Also, I don't have anything against this kind of one, but I think that they should add more details. 2 more. Cheeto needs a vet. Why does Cheeto need a vet? Oh yeah, so Cheeto, I think if I read this right, Cheeto has stuck shed a lot, common in leopard geckos, and the person didn't actually remove the stuck shed properly, causing eye issues, toe issues, skin issues, leg issues, and they now need $500 to fix it with antibiotics. So it's rare for stuck shed to lead to antibiotics. Most of the time it can be fixed by hand. Sometimes it's uncomfortable because you really have to work at it. The animal's really going to be unhappy. Even though they did everything they could to get rid of the stuck shed, the issue is they didn't actually get the shed off. They just tried to fix the conditions, but you also have to get the old shed off, and that was likely why their fixes weren't working, because first you have to get the old shed off and then fix the conditions. So now that costs $500, and I'm not saying you can't raise money for your own mistakes. I think that's very important too. They're very transparent, which I appreciate, and overall I feel bad for the situation, but the problem is also this is very old and they haven't updated. It's just something that could have been avoided, which is why it's kind of unfortunate. And then the last one, Reptile Rehab. They want $5K. They very simply just want to help reptiles, and tons of people want to do this. But if you want to donate to someone that's starting a rehab, how do you pick? Normally you're going to go with your friend or family member, but this is just a stranger to most people, and it's why they've raised $0 since August 31st, is there's nothing about them, nothing about where the money will go, nothing about the budget. It sounds like they don't really have a plan. If they do, they didn't say it. They just want $5K, and that's it. Where does the $5K go? What are they doing with it? It's somewhat reasonable if you already have a space secured, I'd say 5K makes sense, but I think you could also start with even $500 or $1,000. It's just not clear in those big goals. Like if the goal is $100 and you donate 10, you see that line move a lot. But if it's 5,000 and you donate 10, it's not even different. So like, why donate 10 unless it's already building with a lot of people? So I think if people want to raise money for their rehabilitation based stuff, that's great, but it's not the best way to start. Maybe they're doing other avenues to raise money as well. Maybe they are finding other jobs. Maybe they're flipping stuff on eBay. That's what I like to do when I need to just raise extra money. There's so many ways that you can just do side hustles and side incomes instead of just relying on strangers to raise the money. So my moral of the story is, don't ask for donations if you're starting a business. I think that's just silly. If you have the ability to raise money, I think that's awesome. Take advantage of it. Everyone's opportunities are very different. Some have ridiculously hard opportunities and like no opportunities to start what they want. Others, it's just handed straight to them. But I think both of the people should be respected if they are trying to build something cool. It's just because someone gets everything handed to them, it does kind of ruin it. You don't really commend them as much because obviously they did less work. But again, it's all about chasing different opportunities. And I think that more people should try and raise money. I think it's fun to try and earn money. And for the emergencies, I understand it. But when it comes to trying to get a new pet and asking people on GoFundMe, it's just kind of cheap, like a cheap way to do it. So shout out to, I don't know why I said shout out to people that have GoFundMes. I don't know. What did you think of the video? Should I do more of them? Was it too mean? Was it too nice? Let me know. Be brutal in the comments and I will read and respond to a bunch of them. I'll probably do it again anyway because it was fun. If you want to see what I have to offer, including reptiles, merchandise, you can support me on Patreon, which is basically my own little GoFundMe, I guess. I'm exposed. You can check all that out in the description. And that'll be it for this video. I'm Alex, and thanks for watching.